In the shadows of an ancient jungle, a lethal trap lies in wait, its steel jaws poised to claim those who dare to tread too close. Two nimble hearts beat in unison, their fate hinging on a clever scheme in a world where silence is currency. Can courage outmatch the cold calculation of a man consumed by greed? Or are they merely pawns in a game they cannot win? In the heart of an uncharted jungle, where vibrant greens intertwined with splashes of exotic colors from hidden blossoms, a sense of ancient mystery lingered in the humid air. Towering trees, their trunks thick and gnarled, stretched skyward, while their dense canopies danced playfully in the tropical breeze. Sunlight, struggling to pierce the foliage above, created dappled patches on the forest floor, illuminating the intricate tapestry of life teeming beneath. The air was rich with the sounds of the wild, a chorus of chirping insects, the rustling of unseen creatures, and the distant call of a howler monkey, all contributing to the jungle's symphony. Among this lush backdrop, two starvine apes roamed, their sleek bodies moving with an agility honed by years of life in this vibrant jungle. Kyle, a brave male adorned with a striking coat of dark brown fur, exuded a confident air that mixed well with the intense determination in his amber eyes. He was a natural leader, often plotting ways to protect their domain from any encroachment, human or otherwise. Motivation surged through him. Every rustle of the leaves hinted at potential threats, but he was prepared for whatever the jungle threw at him. Beside him swung Lyra, a resourceful female starvine with fur colored like the sun's hue splashed across the horizon at dusk. Her wide, expressive green eyes sparkled with empathy. Lyra's talent lay not only in her ability to navigate the jungle, but also in her innate understanding of those around her. As Kale's steadfast companion, she encouraged collaboration, often reminding him that patience could be just as powerful as defiance. Together, they forged a bond that showcased teamwork, each relying on the other's distinct strengths. Their lives, filled with joyous exploration and adventure, were suddenly tainted by a low rumbling noise, a stark reminder of an ominous force that threatened their world. The invasive sounds of human machinery droned from beyond the dense foliage, hinting at the arrival of Dr. Magnus Hunt. Known among the jungle as a ruthless zoologist, Hunt sought to capture the rarest of creatures for his dark zoo. As the sounds of profit-driven greed crept nearer, Kyle and Lyra ventured bravely into the familiar haven they called home, unaware of the traps that lurked within the shadows, ready to ensnare them and change their paths forever. The dense jungle thrummed with life, enveloping Kyle and Lyra in a symphony of chirps, rustles, and the distant roar of cascading waterfalls. Sunlight filtered through the thick canopy above, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor, where vibrant ferns and colorful orchids bloomed with reckless abandon. Yet beneath the beauty of this uncharted territory, a tension lingered in the air, a foreboding presence that sent shivers down Kale's spine. His keen eyes darted around, catching hints of disturbances, a snapped vine here, a gouged tree trunk there. "I've never seen anything like this," Kyle murmured, a hint of unease lacing his voice as they ventured deeper into their familiar territory. Lyra, walking proudly beside him, instinctively felt the change in atmosphere. Her ears flicked back. "I sense something is off," she replied, her instincts honed by countless days spent in the embrace of their sacred home, now tainted with a whisper of danger. As they continued exploring, the once serene landscape was shattered by the jarring hum of man-made machinery. The sound reverberated through the air, thickening the atmosphere with anxiety and caution. Just ahead, they spotted a clearing littered with steel cages, gleaming menacingly in the slivers of sunlight, glistening promises of capture. Kyle's heart raced. "There's no way this could be a coincidence," he said, his voice firm. "Dr. Hunt must be near." Suddenly, their surroundings shifted into peril as Kale instinctively lunged forward to inspect a grotesque net lying discarded on the path. Lyra followed closely, but with one miscalculated step, the ground gave way beneath her, triggering a trap. A sharp snap echoed through the jungle, and Lyra yelped as vines encircled her limbs, tugging her upwards into a precarious snare. "Lyra!" Kyle screamed, alarm rising in his chest as he rushed to her side, his mind racing. They had stumbled into the villain's lair. Just as he was about to enact a rescue, voices cut through the tension, a chatter of human laughter, laced with the bitter edge of greedy excitement. Dr. Magnus Hunt, their unwelcome adversary, had arrived, ready to claim the magnificent beasts of the jungle. The reality of their capture loomed ominously as Kale and Lyra locked eyes, both aware that their freedom was slipping away. The thrill of adventure now bore the weight of a looming threat, an encounter destined to alter the very fabric of their lives. As the shadows of the towering jungle trees stretched under the waning sun, Dr. Magnus Hunt's laughter echoed through the air like a chilling specter. His presence was a malignant tide rising over the lush expanse, where Kyle and Lyra had always roamed free. Kyle could feel the pulsation of dislike in the pit of his stomach as he glanced at Lyra, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fury as Hunt approached their trap, unfurling a menacing smirk on his lips. "Look at what we have here," Hunt taunted, crouching low to peer into the cage, his voice dripping with mockery. "Two clever little apes caught in one of my finest creations. Pure instinct, or lack thereof, isn't it?" He pushed aside the foliage surrounding their ensnarement, his gloved fingers brushing against the metal bars, reveling in his authority. Kyle, his chest swelling with defiance, fought against the bindings that held him. "We won't be your circus animals, Hunt. This jungle will never be your domain." His voice rang out clear, every word a dagger aimed toward the heart of the zoologist's arrogance. Hunt straightened, a condescending laugh spilling forth. "How noble, but you see, instincts can only take you so far. Humans have outsmarted nature for centuries. You're just a blip in my grand vision." He turned to his henchmen, signaling for them to prepare the cages that would soon transport the apes and other captured animals to the hellish construction he called a zoo. Lyra shifted restlessly beside Kale, feeling the weight of their situation pressing down on her, like the thick humidity of the jungle around them. She could hear the noise of more animals being trapped, their frightened cries mingling with the taunts of their captors. It was overwhelming, and while Kale's bravado inspired some courage, she felt the gnawing dread of imminent capture clouding her judgment. "Kyle, listen," she whispered urgently, glancing over her shoulder to ensure no one was within earshot. "We need to keep our heads. If we act rashly, we'll end up exactly where they want us, in those cages." "Lyra," he replied, irritation creeping into his voice, "while we sit here afraid, more animals will be caught. We can't just wait. We need to fight back." "Fight back? With what?" she countered, her voice firm but crackling with the tension of their standoff. "Your bravado won't win this battle, Kyle. It's suicidal." The clash of their personalities erupted like a thunderstorm hanging above the jungle. Kyle's heart raced with fervor, his instincts for battle contrasting sharply with Lyra's careful consideration. He met her gaze, holding it fiercely, searching for a mix of understanding and disagreement. "Sometimes," he finally said with a lower intensity, "you need to let go of caution to protect what matters. We can outsmart him together, but we must act fast. I can lure them away. You just need to trust me to buy us time." With a slight nod, Lyra could see the fire in his eyes, fiercely kindled determination. But the despair weighed heavier on her heart as shadows drifted, and the oppressive aura of Hunt's presence tightened around them like a noose. "Then let's do it," Lyra replied, reluctantly diving into the unknown. "But we'll do it my way. We can use the jungle. Let it be our ally." And with that shared resolve, forged in the fires of their differences, they prepared to challenge the ruthless knowledge that Hunt represented. Tension crackled around them, and the jungle shifted in its vastness, bearing witness to two small souls daring to rise against a tempest. Kale's heart raced, the iron grip of the trap around him seemingly squeezing tighter with every taunt Dr. Hunt unleashes. "Look at you two, caught like the animals you are. You'll make a lovely addition to my collection." The zoologist's voice dripped with venomous delight, an unyielding reminder of the power he wielded over them. "Not if we can help it," Cal spat back, summoning every ounce of defiance. His body thrummed with adrenaline as he glanced at Lyra, her wide eyes reflecting both terror and determination. This was not just a battle for their own lives, but for all the creatures the humans sought to drag into his dark zoo. The dusky jungle around them seemed to pulse with life. Unfurling a burden of responsibility, Kale felt heavy on his shoulders. Lyra stuffed down her fear. Kyle, we need a plan. We're surrounded. She scanned their environment, catching glimpses of other captured animals dimly illuminated by the flickering light of Hunt's harsh floodlights. Colorful parakeets, now silent, fluffed their feathers in fright, while the small mammals huddled together, fear etched on their tiny faces. Instinctively, she felt the urge to comfort them, but time was slipping through their fingers. Follow my lead. Kyle's voice cut through the chaos like a knife. He focused on one of the more convoluted traps, a cage entangled in ropes rigged to entrap anything within its vicinity. Remember the vines we practiced with? They're our best chance. Cal's mind ignited. He could almost see a potential escape route. Just as he finished, a loud crash erupted nearby. Startled by the sound, some of the guards turned their attention away, allowing swift movement through the other trapped animals. A brief moment where nature's agility might just win out against human greed. Lyra saw the opportunity. Now, Kyle! She yelled, launching herself toward the nearby tree. She swiftly swung up and expertly grasped a few sturdy vines, aiming them at the malfunctioning cage mechanism. If we can loosen that cage from its trap, the words hung in the air, buzzing with possibility. Cal joined her in that moment of synergy, urgency pulsing through him. Together on three, then, he directed, counting down. 1, 2, 3. With a heave, they pulled at the vines, muscles tensing, their combined strength feeling almost magical. The cage wobbled and something clicked. It started to unravel, unleashing a growing cacophony of chaos as the trap faltered. But Dr. Hunt wasn't one to be outdone so easily. He barked orders, his voice slicing through the atmosphere. Get them! Use the net! Now! The threat echoed, sending shivers down Cale's spine. Just as hope flickered brightly, danger overshadowed it as Hunt advanced, his captured net poised to ensnare them and their newfound allies. Lyra looked into Cale's eyes, understanding flooding between them without words. The moment of reckoning had arrived. In their grasp lay a potential salvation. Yet the weight of failure loomed larger than ever. Would their efforts be enough against the looming figure? Would escape always be just beyond their fingertips? Just then, amidst the sounds of their impending doom, a piercing cry echoed through the jungle, an unsettling reminder that the world outside their fight was holding its breath. As the jungle thickened with tension and the trap grew tighter, hope and despair danced perilously on the edge of fate. Could they outsmart Dr. Magnus Hunt and save not just themselves, but all the creatures caught in his web of greed? The question loomed, heavy and ominous, as the jungle whispered secrets only they could hear, waiting for the right moment to turn the tide. The tension in the air felt electric as Cale and Lyra stood their ground, their backs pressed against a towering banyan tree, its roots entwined like the heart of the jungle itself. Dr. Magnus Hunt towered before them, the glint of his high-tech gear contrasting starkly with the rich green foliage around him. You think you can outsmart me, little apes? The jungle is my domain, and you're merely trespassers, he sneered, his eyes flashing with a cruel amusement. Kyle's heart raced, not just with fear, but a simmering anger that ignited a spark of courage within him. You don't own this jungle, Hunt. You're just a parasite feeding off its beauty. The words echoed in the stillness, daring to challenge the menacing force that stood before them. How quaint, Hunt chuckled mockingly, adjusting the controls on a remote device that pulsed ominously in his grasp. But I have the means to make you my exhibits. Tomorrow's headlines will read, "The Last Starvine Apes Captured." Lyra, her heart pounding, felt a surge of defiance awaken within her, intertwining with Cale's resolve. You underestimate us, she added, her voice steady. This jungle may seem like a trap, but it's our home, and we know every shadow and secret it harbors. As the words left her lips, Kyle's eyes darted toward a cluster of vines, thick and tangled, hanging from a nearby branch. An idea ignited. We can't just stand here. We need to give him something to chase. Lyra, lead him toward the eastern ridge, the one with the falling rocks. What if, she began, but Cale cut her off. Trust me, it'll be a diversion. I'll get the others ready. With a deep breath, Lyra nodded. determination flooding her veins. She dashed towards the ridge, her instincts heightened. The forest became a blur of colors and sounds, with the rhythm of her heart beating in sync with the jungle's pulse. Behind her, Hunt pursued, barking orders to his crew to follow the swift creature. Kyle, remaining hidden, watched as Hunt lost himself in the pursuit, with fury contorting his face and the device fizzing in his hands. It was now or never. Using the thick surrounding foliage, he nimbly twisted through the underbrush, quickly gathering their captured allies, the vibrant parrots and smaller mammals, trembling but filled with desperation for freedom. Lyra's creating a distraction. We have to sabotage Hunt's devices before he figures it out. With newfound resolve, the animals rallied around Kale, following his lead. They moved stealthily, each nuanced rustle of leaves signaling unity against the looming threat. Kale climbed high into the trees, and from above, he spotted Hunt attempting to regain control, the devious smirk replaced by flushed frustration. With precise timing, Kale swung from the branch and tumbling gracefully into a pile of Hunt's traps. The clang and snap reverberated throughout the jungle, startling Hunt. His device slipped from his grip, landing with a heavy thud. The moment spun into chaos as the traps ensnared Hunt's crew, entangling their feet and limbs, rendering them helpless. As Hunt roared in outrage, Kale and the animals descended in a moment of unity, strength embodied in their movements. "This jungle is our home, Hunt. You can't take what doesn't belong to you." Lyra's voice echoed through the clearing, a powerful declaration that resonated with every captured creature. In that moment, as Hunt found himself ensnared by his very traps, victory glimmered on the horizon. Kale and Lyra realized that their courage and teamwork had the power to turn the tide, not just for their freedom, but for every creature that called the jungle home. The battle had transformed them from mere apes into the courageous architects of their destiny. And just like that, they had ignited a revolution, a turning point, not only in their fight for survival, but also for the very heart of the jungle and all its residents. As the sunlight filtered through the dense canopy of leaves above, illuminating the free animals that Kale and Lyra had liberated, a newfound sense of camaraderie blossomed. The jungle erupted with vibrant sounds, the calls of restored parrot families, the playful antics of freed mammals, and the rhythmic rustle of leaves as they celebrated their emancipation. Kyle stood tall, surveying the revitalized spirit among his fellow creatures. Lyra by his side smiled, seeing the friendship bridging across species that had once felt fractured. "You did it, Kyle," Lyra said, her eyes sparkling with pride. "Together we showed them they underestimated us. We've ignited a fire of resilience in every creature here." Kyle nodded, a sense of warmth expanding in his chest. "We've reminded them that strength lies in unity and courage, not in brute force." With Dr. Hunt subdued, the animals gathered, reflecting not only on the freedom they had won, but on the lessons learned. The once fractured relationships among the apes, parrots, and small mammals had coalesced into an alliance forged in the fires of adversity. Kyle and Lyra had grown, no longer merely surviving, but thriving in their roles as leaders and protectors of the jungle's delicate balance. As twilight cloaked the jungle in shades of purple and blue, Lyra addressed the animals. "Let this be our sanctuary, a realm where we honor our differences and share our strengths." The jungle had reclaimed its heartbeat, echoing the harmony among its inhabitants. The finality of freedom resonated through the air, revealing the ethical duty humans bore towards nature. Kale and Lyra, now symbols of perseverance, stood ready for whatever challenges awaited, heartened by the bond they had built, forever transformed.